Welcome, everyone. We'll give everybody about 60 seconds and then we'll get started. All right, welcome everybody to the SharePoint Concierge webinar. Welcome to our SharePoint Concierge clients. And we've got some guests. I think we've got some guests joining us today. Welcome. Here's 45 seconds on dataBridge. If you're not familiar, SharePoint's all we do. We've been doing that for 17 years. And while we're experts at SharePoint, do a lot of implementing intranets, extranets, business portals for organizations, we're also extremely proficient with the things that sit next to SharePoint in 365, Team, Stream, Planner, Azure, OneDrive, the Power Platform. And so this webinar is part of the SharePoint Concierge service that, in addition to the one-on-one support and training and the learning site, where we'll put the material that we create throughout the month, as well as recordings of these webinars on your tenant. You can make them available to all of your employees. We're going to go through and show you some of the new features, some of the things that may be changing or going away, but probably more commonly new features that are in Microsoft 365 and things that touch SharePoint. So with that, welcome aboard, and we will get started. I'll turn this over to Andrea, who's going to be our moderator today, and she'll give you a little agenda.
All right, welcome everyone. My name's Andrea Skinner, and we have a great lineup for you today. We had a little bit of a break at the end of last year, and so we are kicking off this year with some great topics. So I'll go ahead and show these topics on the screen. As you can see, we've got a few new features. We'll discuss creating a document library from an existing document library. That's a fairly new feature, and Dylan will be diving into some additional options on how you can use that, and maybe even from more of an admin level. Microsoft Archive, that's it's still in preview right now, but it is something that is worth, talking about in anticipation for this launch into your production, into your tenants. Microsoft Walkie-Talkie is a brand new feature. We'll hear from Leona about that. And then we get asked this a lot about kind of tagging, favoriting, shortcuts and things, and these are things that are built into Microsoft 365. So we're going to have a review of that as well, and Dylan will present on that. And then we'll wrap up today's session talking about video collection pages and also new video templates that are going to be launching at some point in the near future as well. So a few instructions before we get started with our first topic. Your mics are muted, and so they will be until the end of the presentation so that we can get through all of the information. However, I do encourage you to add your questions or comments in the chat, and so as we move through the topics, we can answer those in live time. We can also address that and open up mics and have open Q&A at the end of the last presentation. So let's jump right in. I have the pleasure now of introducing Dylan, who's going to present on the first topic of using a library from a library, essentially creating a template from an existing library. Over to you, Dylan.
Everyone, yeah, so today's presentation, we'll explore this, create a library from an existing library feature. So previously there was just the create a list from an existing list. And honestly, it didn't quite do everything that you might want it to. So they have built upon that and made it more useful in terms of what it can grab. And I'll dive into that. I'll show that feature, as well as show, how you can take that further, dive a little deeper into, what exactly it's doing. So with that in mind, yeah, actually, before I pull up on the screen, I'll just explain some terms we might cover today. So Power Automate. So I might touch on this and show just a brief example I have actually using the same feature with Power Automate. And that's just the in-house automation tool for 365, that you could use for anything in your tenant. Now the site script. So this term is just actually, this is the underlying functionality for the create a list or library from an existing list. It's just auto generates a schema for you. You can generate your own, or you can use this out of the box feature. But the site script that's used for sites, lists, libraries, to generate that schema, so that you can create something based off of something, without having to do it from scratch, basically. And then just one other term, which I might touch on as well, is the content type hub. So for those that have, tags, you might have something like project documents that have tags, or you might have an announcement list, that's used on each site. And maybe those are reused on different sites. So the content type hub is that centrally managed place, that hub for publishing and managing those content types that might be reused across your tenant. And so we'll touch on that and how this particular feature works with the content types as well. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and pull onto the screen some examples here. So yeah, let's pull this over. So for instance, I have just a project documents library here. This is actually some document sets with some different tags on them. Document sets are just the folders that have the tags. So, it has a content type. I've got some couple columns here like project status. I have a managed metadata fields. And just to explain, that's just another tag in my content type here. So, I can tag these either the documents or the document set folder itself. So this might be something that you might have on different sites. You might have different departments that have their own projects, or maybe you're working on different projects. So this is just one example of something that maybe would be recreated, a library that could be recreated on other sites, and I'll show you how that's done and some of the things to keep in mind if you were to use this feature, where you want to get this particular library on your site, whether that's for testing purposes, or that's to have another live library for a new department or a new site, whatever that might be. So I'll go ahead and explain a little bit here. Let me go into the library settings. So when I'm talking about the content type, so this one's got just the document set and then the document content type. Now in this example, these are not published from the content type hub I was referring to. These are on the site. But the one thing to keep in mind before we do this test is that since it's using the document set feature, using this create a library from an existing library does not bring over automatically that feature to turn on that document set feature on the site. So that'll be something to keep in mind. If it's not already turned on your new site, that'll be something you'd have to turn on, or which I'll show is, you could use something like Power Automate to do this same functionality and handle that, sort of check if your feature's on, check if your content types are, just to check your different features that you might be need on that new site. But just to go ahead and show you this feature, I'm on a different site here now, and I'm just in the site contents library, and I'll just walk through actually creating, that project documents library on the site. So I'll hit the new button here. We'll do document library, and then we'll say from existing library. And then, yeah, I'll just find my site where I had that project documents. So I've got some different libraries here, and just going to give this a new name, choose whether to show it in navigation. And yeah, we'll go ahead and spin that up. Now, I have that document set feature turned on, so that actually, is already good to go in terms of bringing over that document set. But otherwise, if you were using something like that, you would want to make sure it's turned on. Now, if you don't use that feature, that document set feature, you don't have it turned on, you don't have to worry about turning it on. Obviously, you can just create your library from an existing library, and it's going to bring over your different tags, your different views. So in my example here, I also had another custom gallery card view, just to show you what I'm referring to. So just to compare some of the stuff that came over. It didn't bring the content over, but it's bringing over the tags. It's bringing over my custom views here. So you can see I have this gallery, these different fields with some styling. So the different styling is actually coming over, just not that content. If we go in real quick, let me show you. So, in my document set, I see my fields are over here. Now there may be, when you're using this, there may be certain things where when you try to create your library, it may not work properly. There may be some funky stuff. And when that happens, it's either, maybe consider, just doing it a different way or have something developed. And that's where, I might use something personally like a script to do something like this using that same site script feature, but I can look at the script to make sure it's coming over correct. In my Power Automate, it's the same call that's happening, but potentially I could make changes. I could check the new site. And so these two actions in particular would be accomplishing that same thing. But if there was some funkiness happen, let's say I wanted this library on a lot of sites, like 20 plus sites or something like that, then I would probably consider, something like some automation to do that, where we can replicate that same thing, but, maybe have some more control to make sure any dependencies are set up, like maybe document set. And then the other one, which I wanted to touch on, was just content types from the content type hub. So I'll just come over. This is just a list actually that I want to show. And so I have a list view here, an FAQs list with a JSON view, and customized in JSON view, where it's basically the question and the answer. And I'll just go to the all items just to show you. So this is just a list, where I could enter my different FAQs. Now this one uses actually a content type that's from the content type hub. So I've got this content type here, and it's actually published from our hub. So, this before didn't work, where the content type from the hub, it acted funky when you tried to create the list or, from an existing list. It would bring over the fields, but there was this weird quirkiness with the content types, and actually it wouldn't, whenever you try to enter a new item, it wouldn't work. So they did resolve that. That's gotten better. It checks for the content types and creates them. But one thing that I have noticed is if it's from the content type hub and you're going to a different site, so let's say over here on my other site, if that content type is not published to the site for whatever reason, if it's not already here, the list will still work. This is just a search thing, more of an admin thing. If you were creating search rollups or doing something like that, you would want to make sure that content type is published on that site. And once again, that might either be manually doing that or having something like a flow that is checking that content type is published. And in the content type hub, you can publish your content types there, but if it hasn't been made available on the site, you might want to, you could have something that runs to make sure that it's there. Because what happens now is it'll create the content type, it'll look like it's from the content type hub, but in the search center, I've noticed some quirkiness with the actual tag itself. So when you do a roll up, it's actually creating a different crawled property. Anyways, that's kind of more of a technical thing, but there's just some things to keep in mind, but it definitely works. It definitely works well. You can create, lists, libraries with content types using the different features, customization, views with JSON, tags, and all that stuff is coming over. There's just potentially a few dependencies where, you want to take that in consideration if you're looking to do this on a larger scale, maybe as a super user or an admin. And, we always have things, like scripts, saving them off as templates, automation. So there's always options to take advantage of that same site script feature. But maybe have more control over it if it does act a little quirky. So with that in mind, I'll hand this back over, and I think that'll conclude my presentation on the great libraries from existing libraries.
Thank you so much, Dylan. Yeah, this is a great feature, and maybe a use case could be like you don't want to start off with your default out of the box document library. You can create like a department library that has maybe some global columns in it, and you can deploy that across all of your sites in your intranet, and just kind of forego using that the default one. So next up, we will hear from Leona. Let me see, Microsoft Archive.
All righty.
Over to you, Leona.
Welcome, everyone. Yep, today I'm going to be covering two subjects. The first one is going to be talking about Microsoft Archive. So for those who are unaware, Microsoft Archive is a kind of a new feature that will be coming soon and is currently in a preview stage that will allow you to retain inactive data by moving it to cold storage tier of archive inside SharePoint. Any data archive will have the searchability, security, compliance standards applied automatically. If you reach your max quota, MS Archive will be a cost-efficient way to keep your storage costs at a minimum. So again, this is going to be directed towards SharePoint site collection. So just to give one piece of clarification there. So why would you use Office 365 or Microsoft 365 Archive? One, you get speed. So again, it's ultra fast to be able to archive any of your sites. So no matter how many sites you wish to archive or the size of them, within hours of you selecting a site to be archived, it will now be in an archive state. Cost savings is another one. So again, once you've exceeded your 365 storage quota that you have, that's when the new lower cost of the archive site pricing will come into effect. So again, if you're an organization that has terabytes and terabytes worth of data and you have exceeded your quota, you can either go down the path of either buying more premium storage, which is more live data, or you can go down the path of, again, Microsoft Archive, which will be, about 75% less as of this moment. Loss list of metadata. So in essence, again, metadata and permissions will still kind of be a factor once you restore your site back into a non-archive state. So in essence, you're not moving anything around. It's all staying in place. So which means that all your metadata and permissions will come back to you as soon as you reactivate that site. Also decluttering. So in essence, it gives you a means of separating kind of live data from inactive data. So in essence, you can easily say, hey, I know as an organization, we have a number of projects that we need to keep from a compliance standpoint, but realistically, we're not going to be engaging with that content because realistically, we're not doing work with that client anymore. But from a legal standpoint or from a compliance standpoint, we need to hold that data for 10 years. We can go ahead and put it into an archive state, which then eventually, if we ever need to pull it out from an audit perspective, we can easily go ahead and reactivate that and have access to that content if so desired. Also on the screen, you can see here the current pricing details of it. So again, the archive data storage price is 5 cents a gig per month. And there's also a reactivation of archive data at the time of restoring that data after 7 days. So there is currently a 7-day grace period of you archiving a site and then potentially being able to pull that data back out of the archive state. In case, again, somebody in your organization says, hey, guys, we're going archiving these sites on this date. One of your content managers by accident forgets to pull a piece of data out. You still have that 7-day grace period to be able to pull that data out without any additional cost to your organization. So I'm going to kind of walk through how the archiving process will take place, and then we'll cover some additional documentation as well. So the archiving process is going to take place inside your SharePoint admin portal. It'll be very easy once you do have it configured. So in essence, you want to go to your active sites. Once you're on your active sites page, you'll want to go ahead and just select whichever site that you wish to archive. You can also see the size of that site. So in essence, if you say, hey, you know what, realistically, this is one of those large sites that we're not using anymore, maybe we want to hunt down those sites a little bit better. So we can see the size. And there will also be, once you have selected a site, the ribbon at the very top will have the archive button. All you want to do is press the archive button. Again, this will be kind of pulling data from your quota. So if you exceed it, then in essence, you might want to get the cheaper cost, or you'll still be kind of paying the normal default pricing. But once you do click the archive button, you get to kind of a very simple wizard page that just says, hey, this is the information about your site. Hey, you won't be able to access your site within 7 days of archive or At no additional cost, you can restore your site. After that, you will have to pay an additional fee. You get your site name, you get the description up here, and then whenever you are ready to hit the archive button, again, your site will begin archiving. Within a couple of hours of you starting to archive, it will then archive the site. We'll want to go ahead and close this little window out. And then there would be a new section as well once you have configured the archiving control, which would be the archive site. So this will give us a listing of every site that is currently in archive. And so as we can see here, every single site, the URLs that they previously have, their status. So again, the archived ones means that they have exceeded that 7-day period to be able to freely restore that data. And then if you see recently archived means that, hey, that's still within that grace period. So if you say, hey, as an organization, large site 2, we need to go ahead and restore it again, you'll be able to come in here, select the site, and there'll be a ribbon option as well to say restore site. So again, it's going to be very easy for your organization to be able to add sites or archive sites or restore sites if they ever so desire. But again, just be aware there is a cost associated to it, and we'll cover that, how to set that up here now. So that's how, again, you will be able to archive your sites. If you ever wish to participate in it, the preview stage currently, just go to the Microsoft Archive site, which you can either type in the Google Microsoft Archive, or if you go to the adoption.microsoft.com/Microsoft 365 Archive, you'll arrive at this site. There'll be kind of 2 primary buttons that you'll want to use. This one right here will give us to this page here, which will kind of give you the step-by-steps on how to configure this if you wish to participate in the preview. Again, the syntax pay-as-you-go will still most likely be needed whenever this does go live. That's a little bit up in the air, but in essence, this has a walkthrough on how you can configure this or how you can maybe even disable it if you so desire. And the second link that is also on this page gives us kind of information about the features. Currently, because it is in a preview stage, there is kind of limitations that exist that some of these will be fixed or maybe kind of locked away based off of its current stage. So again, some examples would be, hey, if you have an organization that has over 50,000 site collections, there's going to be some problems there. Archive sites, via e-discovery, right, the second do work, but with the final product, that will be excluded from there. Again, as of right now, also users won't be able to search those sites. Only kind of the admin or through Purview will be able to search those sites. Some additional functionality that we can kind of read through here also be either enabled or disabled whenever the product goes into its live stage. So just be aware of, hey, again, as an organization, there is a new feature coming soon to allow you guys to easily archive your data instead of maybe paying for additional server space elsewhere and then migrating your content over there. Again, this is also only going to affect site collections. You cannot target either documents or libraries on site. So again, the idea of a flat architecture is very important for organizations moving forward to allow you to archive, databases one at a time instead of, everything on an entire site that maybe you have a bunch of subsites which you don't want to archive. So that concludes my first subject today, which is Microsoft Archive. The next subject that I'm also going to be covering is going to be the Microsoft Walkie-Talkie. So this is a walkie-talkie app that has a new feature coming. Again, maybe walkie-talkie might be a completely new app to your team as of right this second. So we're going to talk through that a little bit. But there's also a new feature coming to Microsoft Walkie-Talkie that allows you to listen to multiple channels, which for those who don't know what that means yet, we'll walk through that here in just a moment. So for those who don't know what Microsoft Walkie-Talkie is, it's a push-to-talk communication for your teams that are available in the Android or iOS Teams app. So again, this is not available for desktop versions of Microsoft Teams. It's only available for the mobile versions of Microsoft Teams. Again, this allows users to easily connect through their Microsoft Teams using the underlying channels in which they already belong. So this is still using Microsoft Teams and the channels that exist there as well. So for those who, as of this moment, go, hey, how do I get this? You probably already have it. However, Microsoft hides it from you automatically. So we're going to quickly walk through the steps on how to get this enabled, and then we'll walk through how Microsoft Walkie-Talkie works and then also the new feature that's coming along with it. So starting off, we'll want to be inside the Microsoft Teams admin portal. Then we'll want to go down to the Teams app section here. And then we'll want to go down to the setup policies. So setup policies are going to be policies that kind of apply to a certain user base. As of right now, I'm going to use this webinar sample just because we don't have it configured yet. So here is going to be all the apps that are available on the kind of the quick app bar inside of the Teams app on the bottom, probably through the ellipsis. So again, what we'll want to do is initially add the app. So click this little button here, look for the app, type in walkie-talkie. We'll see it here. Click the add button here, and then we'll want to hit the save button. Now, when you do this and you do apply this policy out there, it will probably take up to 48 hours for this to be deployed. So just be aware, hey, don't be surprised if it does not show up immediately. Microsoft is applying a policy through the policy portal, so therefore it will take time to get deployed. So once you do have that enabled, let me go ahead and come back here. Inside your Teams app, so let's say, again, 48 hours goes by and you go, how do we start to use this? So inside of Teams, at the very bottom, there will be the More option. So again, you may see it here based off your ordering. Because I have it in the last spot, it's going to be in the ellipsis. And then you can see here, there's a walkie-talkie app. So we're going to go ahead and click on the walkie-talkie app. And when you get to the walkie-talkie app, this is going to be what you kind of see here initially. Now, some of this might be adjusted accordingly based off your organization. But in essence, the very top section, this is going to be kind of the channels that you're currently subscribed to or following or favorited type of idea. So in essence, you have the capability of either switching between these currently very quickly. So if you click between general or walkie-talkie, it switches the channel. So in essence, if you're wanting to listen in on the walkie-talkie channel, you click the walkie-talkie button and then therefore you get the feed there. The next control below that is going to be kind of the channel that you're currently actively in. So again, if you didn't favorite any channels, you wouldn't see at the very top. So this is the channel that you're in. This is also the means for you to select that, and then a UI panel will pop up to allow you to say which channels do you wish to be in or which to favorite it. The next control is going to be the number of participants in that channel currently. So as of right here in the screen capture, we have 2 users in this channel. So again, as you get more people in there, that number will increase. The next one is going to be the chat feature. Realistically, this uses the Teams channel post control. So again, this is really just takes you to a jump screen to that post realistically. Next is going to be the large kind of press and hold button. This allows you to talk because, again, it's the press and hold button. One thing to also be aware of with Microsoft Walkie-Talkie currently is that this is allowing for one person to talk in a given channel at a given time. So again, if somebody else is talking in the channel currently, I cannot speak. If I'm speaking, nobody else can speak type of idea. The last control that we're going to see here is going to be the stop listening button. Again, this acts as pretty much as a mute button at the end of the day. So if you say, hey, for whatever reason, I need to mute walkie-talkie for the time being, click that stop listening button and it will mute the app. Now, the new feature that is coming out will be using the additional channels at the very top. So as of right now, or maybe even not right now, Microsoft is pushing this feature out by the end of the month, or supposedly, hopefully. Will be the capability of having each channel at the very top that you're favoriting or following to allow you to listen in at all those at a given time. So let's say you are a shop manager or a foreman on a construction site, and that you want to have multiple different teams kind of working in their own little channel and their own walkie-talkies. So as a foreman, you can go ahead and listen in to all the other channels of all your other teams below you. And then you could kind of say, hey, you know, if anything is going on, I want to be able to aware of all of them potentially at a given time so I can easily jump into there and start to engage with them if I so desire. Same thing would be happen if you're a shop manager and you need to listen into multiple teams. So again, this is kind of more of a new feature, which is the capability of listening in at multiple times. Previously, you would have to always micromanage and switch between tabs to listen into any of the chats that are currently going on. So again, hopefully they, some organizations, I know this is probably not applicable to a lot of organizations, but again, hopefully that some of you guys might be able to find value in using the walkie-talkie app and also the new features that are coming along with it. So that concludes my section today with the walkie-talkie. I'll pass it back on to you, Andrea. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Leona. Yeah, we now have a smart walkie-talkie that allows you to, use different channels from one device. I know back in the day, working at a school, we'd have multiple walkie-talkies. One for a maintenance team, one for the outside team, one for security team, and that way you could separate all of your discussions. But this is very cool now to be able to have all from your phone. So next up, we're going to hear from Dylan once again on favoriting that content that you need to get to over and over again. Let's find out how to easily do that.
Hey everyone, yeah, so absolutely. We'll go over some of the ways that you can favorite your content and really help your content funnel up to the top, bubble up to the top of wherever you're working, whether it's in SharePoint, whether you're in Teams, whether you're in OneDrive, and I'll explain some of this stuff and some of these different options. So I'll show you how to do that favorite, and it's a feature that's been around for a long time. But I'll also show you some of the newer aspects of it and how you can organize those in the 365 ecosystem in your Microsoft environment. So with that in mind, I'll just I want to talk about a few terms. So for instance, I'm going to talk about OneDrive. So OneDrive, that's the 365 integrated cloud storage. That's what you would be using to connect your documents, your computer, sync your computer and your documents in SharePoint and 365. You probably have that connected to your computer. So that's, Microsoft's cloud storage solution. Then the 365 app, which I want to show, has some of the newer features. And the 365 app, you might just sort of see it. You can get to it in many different ways, but it's just a roll up of everything. You'll see it. You can access it through the browser. There's actually an app on your computer you can use 365. So there's multiple ways, but it's just a feed of all your content essentially. Pulling in everything, whether it's your emails, your own documents, stuff you're working on, including your favorites, which I'll show. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and pull into the screen a document library, and I'll just show you that the feature in particular that we're going to be talking about, and then I'll go into the newer side of what it offers. So on the screen here, I've got my project documents, and I've got just a handful of different documents here. And let's say, for instance, I've got a particular spreadsheet that I'm working on consistently. Maybe it's an ongoing thing that you're working on. Maybe it's an important reference for you, whatever that might be. I'll go ahead and show you some of your options here. So for instance, I've already pinned it to the top of the screen, but that's not a favorite. That's just me. I just want to pin it so I can see it in my library here. But what I want to show is, using that favorite feature. So I'm going to click little ellipses here, and have a bunch of different options. You can see I can actually do the favorite from up in the command bar when I have the document selected, or I can just look through my different options here. So I'll go ahead and click the favorite. So what that's done is it's favored it to me personally. So this isn't, for everyone. This is something that you can have your own favorites and your own shortcuts and to all your different content. And it's just for, for you and whatever's convenient for you. So what I'm going to do now that I favorited that document, my sales spreadsheet, I'll just show some of the different places, you'll actually see your favorites. So I was talking about that 365 feed. And we're talking about OneDrive. So, there's a lot of crossover between these different apps whenever you're accessing it. So what I want to show, I'm going to pull on the screen. I've actually got OneDrive open in Teams. I mean, you can access it, all your different stuff, many different ways. So I'm actually just, hitting OneDrive through Teams here. But I could also just show you, I've got it open in the browser as well. So just to show you, I just favorited that sales spreadsheet. And so within OneDrive, I'm on my favorites tab. So I'm just, OneDrive, hitting the favorites. And I can see that it's come up here. And so the OneDrive in particular, your favorites feed, it's focused on documents. So your spreadsheets, your Word documents, your folders, document sets, that's what's pulling into this particular favorite feed. But what I want to show, let's also just real quick while we're on the OneDrive side of it, some of the different things. So depending on your version of Windows, if you've got OneDrive connected, I just wanted to show real quick. you know, a document I recently favorited actually shows up, you know, in my file explorer. You know, your different shortcuts can show up there. So I just want to show that, you know, these feeds, there's a lot of different ways that you'll start to see them. So if you favorite your content, we're just starting to, in the different feeds that are connected to your environment, you know, that stuff can start to bubble up to help you find it. So what I want to pull on, it just came through, the 365 app. So I've actually got the 365 app, and I'll just show you how I, you know, from my content, and then I'm going to the favorites. So I'm just clicking on the my content and going to favorites. And so what I want to show in the 365 app in particular is some of the new ways you can organize your favorites. And also what's nice about the 365 app is it will pull in a variety of different type of content that you favorited. So for instance, I've also got a list that I favorited, my time entry. So using time entry a lot. So I've actually got that favorited. And then I've also got, you know, those documents that I've favorited. And just to show you real quick, a way that if you did want to favorite a list, one way that I did it in particular, I actually just opened the Microsoft Lists app. So it's just shows all the lists I have access to, and I favorite it by hitting the little star. But you could go from the, you know, the classic way and just go to the list and do it. But just to show that's, you know, nice quick way to favorite some of your lists, and you see the recent ones that you're working on. So it's kind of nice if you're working on one on a day-to-day basis. So it's not just documents that you can favorite. So what I want to show here, let's say I've got, you know, I've got 3 here now, but I'm going to start to favorite more content. But I don't want it to get cluttered. I want to be able to understand, you know, why did I favorite this? How do I look through it? So a few options here I want to show from my favorites feed here. You know, I can search for keywords, you know, to actually filter down the documents. Also, I can add tags. What's nice about this is you can have your own tags that are just for you and searching for these documents. This is just a new feature in the 365 app. And so if I actually come in, I'll just show you some of the options here. So you can see it actually says new. This is a newer feature. I can set a tag that I've already created or create a new tag. So for instance, I could create a new tag. Let's say I want to create a new tag called sales, color code it green. So now I've created a new tag that's color coded to green. So now if I have a bunch of favorites here, I can you know, just filter down my tag to sales. So I've already got a couple different tags here. And what's nice is this is just for me to organize. So, you know, depending on what content, you know, I tag, I can just filter through those different ones. And let's just come back. Yep, so here we go. So overall, you can see I have, you know, a handful of tags for these different ones. I could remove them. I could also, if you've got this organized and it makes sense for you now and you want to remove it after you don't need it anymore, you can easily do that from any of these spots that the favorites come through. You know, I can just come in here and unfavorite it, or, you know, maybe I want to remove the tags. So whatever you might want to do, I can add new ones. I believe there's actually an upload. So if you have a list of tags, I think you can even upload, like if you had a term set or I haven't particularly used that upload feature, but that is nice to be able to have your own potentially way of organizing that without having to potentially develop that or clutter up. You know, you can organize it the way that makes sense to you. And this can be anything throughout 365, you know, different types of content. I'm focusing here on just the SharePoint aspect of it. That's where I'm doing the test here, but it's pretty nice that the favorites and some of these different features that have been around for a long time, they're starting to become more fully realized as they've expanded using actually what's called Graph. And so these feeds you can pull up in all your different apps, whether it's through Teams, whether it's through the browser or the 365 or OneDrive app itself. So, I mean, it's pulling it in a lot of different ways. And even on my computer, I'm seeing, you know, some of those come through on my computer, you know, and what I'll show as well, which you may be familiar with, just real quick, just to show you how I did that pin to top as well. before we close out today. So just to show you some of these different options here, I can do that pin to top. So that's how I made it just show up here above the library. So I'm just pinning some documents, similar to how the new File Explorer pins your recent stuff to the top. And then also just a couple other quick little things. There's the favorite feature, but just to make sure you're aware, I can also add these shortcuts. And for instance, using the shortcut, if I want to create sort of like a bookmark or just a link to a document, I can actually choose the location where I want that link to be right here from the browser. So it's just kind of a similar idea, but it's actually creating a physical link that could live somewhere. So if I wanted to have some document, some folder, and I want it to appear in another location, I can kind of look through different areas I have access to and throw a link to that document there or that folder there, without having to actually create a physical copy of it, just kind of on the fly. So just to show some nice stuff. For instance, I actually created a sales spreadsheet one already in my files. So actually, if I was to here, I'll just show it real quick. So for instance, in my OneDrive, just to show, I created an actual link to that sales spreadsheet already. And so it appears here just right in my files. So I just chose kind of that default my files location just to have it show just right here. So some of the nice ways you can organize stuff for yourself and make it more personalized to what you need to see without maybe necessarily having to either develop something that for everyone in SharePoint can be more tailored to you and not affect other people's experience if they have a different workflow. Let's see, I think that's probably going to cover it for today. Yeah, so I think with that in mind, I'll hand this back over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dylan. Yeah, so this is really great, and we get asked, about this feature quite a bit. And so you don't need to muddy up your desktop with all those shortcuts. You don't need to have that kind of, big list in your browser anymore. Save those for kind of like outside of your 365 environment. Save those browser links for there, and then use this, for your 365 environment because it's already built in for you, and it's going to get easier for you to get to the things that you need to find commonly. If you are daily doing something or weekly doing something, or you're watching something, so you're waiting and watching for maybe a file to be updated by another user, and you want to go check it quite often and things like that. And then the other this kind of does is back in the day, SharePoint used to have this personalization ability where you could actually set zones on a page that a user could make a personal whatever they wanted there. They could put their own web widgets there, and it was just for them. That went away many years ago, and that was actually quite a feature that was a favorite of a lot of folks. And so this actually replaces that. This gives the end user that personalized page to get all of the things that they need. So this is very handy. We're going to finish up today's presentation. We'll hear from Hayden on videos. Over to you, Hayden.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea. I'm really looking forward to talking to you guys today. First and foremost, happy Thursday, everyone. But I'm looking forward to talking to you today about some new templatized video content pages that Microsoft is rolling out soon, as well as some video-centric pages you guys can spin up today while we're waiting for those templates to come in. Before we get started, a term you're going to hear during this is collection pages. What that really means is it's just a page that lives within a SharePoint site. So it's not a site on its own. It's just a page on that site. And it will compile any given data. And in this use case, of course, video files. Video collection pages are designed to make it easy to gather and display all videos from the SharePoint site collection all in one place. And this feature is particularly helpful for organizations that tend to share videos and team channels and things of that nature. I do have a couple key use cases I'd like to cover during this as well. that could kind of show and represent how these new features can help you and your organization. To access the page, or to spin up the page that currently does exist, just take the text box on that last bullet point on the slideshow. You just take the layout video collections text and you put it after the URL on the given site that you want to spin that up. So in a few minutes, I'll actually do that and show you how simple it really is to spin up the new video collection page. But first, I do want to mention that Microsoft is working on the new template feature, and this will allow for different unique ways to spin up video pages for your specific needs. It is currently still in development, but they say it should be rolling out this month. If you look at the calendar, it is already the 25th. It would not shock me if they push it out to early February if they need to, but as of today, it's still saying it'll roll out this month. So keep your eyes open. It could come out, even later today. And if you've been watching our webinars or following what different Microsoft changes are happening and taking place within SharePoint, over the last few months specifically, you'll notice that a lot of new template features are coming out, which is absolutely a fantastic move from Microsoft to help organizations take things and structures that already are being utilized within your organization and being able to replicate those as needed within the same organization. So if you already have something that already works, it's better to just take that and transform it rather than having to start brand new. So as of right now, we don't know what those template features will look like that they're going to roll out, but I'm imagining it's going to look very similar to the new news web part templates, and we can take a look at that portal as well to kind of give an overview of what it might look like. With that said, though, I want to go ahead and look at what the quick spin up of the video centric collection pages are going to look like and how they might be able to benefit you guys. So I'm going to pull over a site real quick. Now this site I've already loaded with a couple of demo videos and different content of that nature for us. And so once you're on the site that you want to be on, you'll just take this text right here. I'm just going to copy it and come up to this URL, and you're going to want to add it right after whatever site name that it shows in the URL. And when you do that and hit enter, what it will do is it'll automatically start generating and pulling all of the video content from that site to organize it on one single page. If your site itself is associated to a hub site, if you have that flat architecture, the branding will also come over to the page. I don't have that currently, but this will show you, the different editing features you can do. So when it displays this page, you're going to want to go over here to this edit button, and this will allow you to edit the page before you kind of post it public. This is great for when you are spinning it up to make sure that the exact videos you want on that page is on there, or make any quick edits before the page goes live itself. You can see up here, it automatically gives you a banner and inputs a title for you. You can take off, who owns the page, and it pretty much, at a very simplistic way, gives you a highlighted content that refers to, the document libraries that exist on the site. You can edit or rearrange as needed, but once you get it to a place that you're happy with, all you need to do is come up here to the publish page. And what this is going to do on the back end is it's going to show up now on your different site pages. So if you come over here to the pages within the site content for your SharePoint site, you'll see that it created a new video collections page that anyone can access if they have the right permission sets to do so. A couple use cases that I'd like to point out when it comes to the video collections and different capabilities that it might be useful for you and your organization is first and foremost training and onboarding. So maybe your organization would like to have all of their training videos on a single page, whether that's for a job-specific position or maybe some just general information on how to navigate the SharePoint site or any other softwares that your organization utilizes. You can even limit what the user sees with different security groupings or dynamic views. So while you're still, have the page with all of your video content in, you can really personalize it to who sees what video and when. So that could be very good for your training and onboarding needs. Another use case, and this one's going to be possibly game-changing, is your meetings portal. So if you and your organization utilize Microsoft Teams or maybe a different meeting software that records your meetings, you can store all of them in one single place. That way, if someone may have been out of the office that day, they could go in and check on what meetings they missed and make sure to get caught up to speed quickly. And then at a different level, maybe the C-suite team or managers could keep track of the different meetings that are taking place in different locations or branches of the company. Or even project managers could review different meetings about different projects that are currently taking place. Another great use case for this could be the marketing video repository. This would be a great service for if you and your organization utilize, the marketing team uses video media content. Instead of having all your videos on a list format where you can kind of see the tile views and some things of that nature, this will display all of the videos on one page. You can clearly see what you're looking for. You can even set it up so that it's kind of like a project management light system if there's a review process for the marketing videos, and keep moving the videos into the different sections of approval processes. And lastly, the first three use cases I just mentioned are very much so internal, but maybe you do have some videos that you want to be able to send out or share with a customer or contractor or anyone outside the organization. This could also be a great solution to have the videos that you want to send out on a specific page so that you can lock down security, make sure they don't have access to any of your other files and forms, but that you're able to share the page as needed with whomever you see. So this new feature will allow your company a safe place to store your video content while still allowing users to find it and utilize it. I'm looking forward to seeing what those new templates are going to look like when they roll out. Microsoft said they should be rolling out again this month, but more news to follow on that and what that may look like. The template features that they've been rolling out, and I'll just show this real quick, is like for the news postings, it opens this new portal with different templates and shows you what those templates look like. If I had to predict, this is probably something similar to what these new video templates are going to look like. It'll give you a very slick, clean, beautiful looking page that you can edit and use as needed. But yeah, I just want to share that with you. I hope the video content page could help you in your organization. I feel like we're heading more towards a video-centric society that can benefit a lot from video content, and not to shy away from video, pages and things of that nature, because they could be very beneficial. Anyway, with that said, I'm going to actually send it back to Andrea, and I hope you guys have a great Thursday.
Thank you, Hayden. All right, so that concludes the learning portion of today's call. And Hayden, if you don't mind, if you could put it on the Q&A slide, that would be great, and just leave it up there on the screen, because it's going to have some instructions for you all when we open up your mics. If you need to drop off, this is a good time to do it if you're not going to hang around for the live Q&A. Again, I just want to thank you for taking time out to learn with us today, and we will look forward to doing this again together on February 22nd. So keep a lookout for that invite and our topics for February. So as always, today's recording will be available to SPC clients. Those will be uploaded along with all of the how-to documents and any supporting resource documents that the dev team has used in today's call. Those will be deposited in your learning libraries on your site. So we will segue now into an open Q&A forum. And how to do that is listed on the screen. You just will see that hand there up in the top of the pane on Teams. If you will raise your hand, we will open up your mic for if you have any questions for anyone on the team or about any of the topics that we've covered. And we'll just hang out for a minute, and if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and conclude. All right, I don't see any questions at this time. So we'll go ahead. We're coming up to about 4 minutes away from the hour mark. So we'll conclude today's meeting and we will see you again in February. I hope you all enjoyed and have a great rest of your day. Bye now.